Hey guys, welcome to the Fair Income Podcast. We've got another episode for you. So this week we spoke about one of the latest Netflix films named The Blood Brothers. It's about Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and their relationship over the years. So we spoke about firstly our opinion of the film. We spoke about how they still impact today's world and also some personal takeaways that we got from these two massive role models. So we guarantee you guys are going to watch this film straight after the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Like that. But I remember I was reading about he got in a fight with his wife,
Who did?
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
You know, his wife, and he got in a fight and he goes, "I'm the greatest, this, that, whatever." And she goes, "You need to humble yourself, boy. Like you can't keep saying you're the greatest. Only God's the greatest." And then and they were fighting angry because he got cocky. And as soon as you say you're the greatest world heavyweight champion, who's gonna put you in your place?
Yeah.
But then his wife goes, "No, go write down on a piece of paper why you joined Nation of Islam and why, this is like Nation of Islam time." And he went and wrote it down. He goes, "Why? Because I just want to have guidance. I'm just a normal person, this, that." And then he kind of had that like humility after writing that. And then he thanked his wife. And then now it's like in one of the museums.
Fair dinkum.
Obviously, we all watched the recent documentary that came out. Documentary, movie, whatever you want to call it, Blood Brothers. Film, which featured obviously Cassius Clay and Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali and what's it called, Malcolm X. Just wanted to get your thoughts on it, boys. Like, what was your thoughts going into the episode? I know Ali and Ashraf, you both read the wait, have you read it?
No, I haven't read it yet.
You haven't read the autobiography, have you?
No, now I'm so keen.
Yeah.
Malcolm or Muhammad?
Malcolm.
Wait, Muhammad Ali has an autobiography?
Yeah, so many that was talking about it.
Actually, I would have been
Yeah.
sorry. That's a dumbass question.
Yeah,
100%.
there's countless.
Yeah, but it's not as like Malcolm X's one is like
Yeah.
like
I
proper
think there's
famous.
I think there's a couple different autobiographies about Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was talking about one and the author in the doco, and it was different to the one I've read.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn,
Mm-hmm.
So how was the one you read, like, compared to
I
the,
think it was
the film?
Alex Haley. It was good because it kind of gave more understanding of his life, like pre-Nation of Islam and stuff like that. And also the documentary documentary only spoke about Nation of Islam, and then like the last year or whatever, last couple of years when he moved like to Sunni Islam and Hajj. But the book actually delved more into Hajj, the experiences about traveling around Africa. I learned so much more about his character, his time in prison, and how like he made the most of it and stuff like that. So you really learn more about his own character. I want to watch the movie.
Yeah. Which movie?
He's got a movie, Malcolm.
With
Denzel.
Oh yeah.
And I want to watch that because I was like, damn, that would be perfect to
Yeah.
watch it. Obviously, don't have enough time before the episode.
Yeah.
But I wanted to watch it just to get like a reminder on certain things.
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the documentary didn't delve into as much as I thought.
Same.
I watched it twice, technically once and a half. Yeah, depending on what you call watching it. But I remember when I got to like 75% of the actual movie, I'm thinking to myself like, bro, is this all that's it? Because I was expecting, like you said, the Nation of Islam took like a massive part of it, and like the introduction to the episode, it was just more like, yo, Malcolm X he had this like prehistory before Islam, and obviously like actually Muhammad Ali's one wasn't as bad as Malcolm X. So you see, Muhammad Ali, they delved into the whole Cassius Clay bit and like life before who he actually was. But I think life after Muhammad Ali wasn't as good. Like with Malcolm X, they spoke in depth, or they like went into depth in regards to like after his fallout with Elijah Muhammad and all that. Well, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, they just said that he's just good friends with him and he was his follower. But it was more like, yeah, Malcolm X died and then Muhammad Ali was following him. Elijah died. And then that was sort of like towards the end of the episode.
And that was like pivotal moments in his life.
Yeah. So I feel like with that 1 hour, or however long it wasn't as informative as I would have expected it to be. I don't know if I was going into it with like,
Expectations.
yeah, high expectations.
Did you enjoy it though? Like overall?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
You didn't enjoy it?
No.
And
Okay.
you've read the biography, yeah?
No,
You
I
like
haven't.
both
I'm one of those fake fans that just has it like lying on my bookshelf.
Okay,
type
just
of
show
thing.
people.
But
Yeah,
do you like learning more about Malcolm and Muhammad or
Yeah,
not really?
I look up to them highly. Well, I really look up to them highly.
Okay.
Think about this right now. Muhammad Ali is like, how he spoke about crying and stuff on previous episodes. I deadass actually cried when he passed away, Muhammad Ali.
Okay, so wait.
I'm saying
not to call you out there.
Yeah.
So the figures in your life, you
Yeah.
haven't read either autobiographies? Have you watched either of their movies?
No.
So you like don't know a lot about their life, but there's still lessons.
Yeah.
Lessons are enough to kind of say. But you can take one quote or one thing he said and it's like that's enough. You don't have to know everything about their life.
For sure.
But you haven't like delved into it.
No, not really.
Okay.
No, not really. But I think from a figure point of perspective and as like a role model point of perspective, there's certain aspects of their lives which like I take into high regard.
Yeah.
Like for example, Malcolm X's quote in regards to if you don't stand for anything, you fall for anything is one of my quotes that I live by in terms of it's like my mantra going through life, thinking about like I need some sort of purpose. Like there's certain aspects of their lives which I hold to a high standard. So, you know, Muhammad Ali, just his like I love his attitude, like the whole "I am the greatest" attitude. I have a TikTok account, a fake TikTok account named "I am the greatest" because of him.
It's just
you know?
self-belief, man.
Yeah,
it's
just
a
like
different level.
Their personality inspires me, but I haven't. You're right. I haven't really delved into who they are.
Maybe that's why you probably didn't enjoy it as much. Like I've read autobiography and watched the movie of Malcolm.
Yeah.
I watched a couple movies on Muhammad Ali and a couple 30 for 30s on Muhammad Ali. So I know a bit more about it. And I did some study when we did the top 5 Muslim athletes.
Yeah.
So I know a bit about Muhammad and Malcolm and stuff like that. But I enjoyed the doco because it gave light on different things. So their brotherhood. Because I knew they know each other at the same time, but I didn't know how close they were. When Malcolm invited him to his house, when Malcolm went to Muhammad's house, you know, when before the fight, Sonny Liston, Malcolm was there, you know, and then like why he was trying to guide him, and then afterwards, so it gave like a light on how close they actually were, which I really, that was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah. I think now actually discussing a little bit, one thing I'm starting to realize is I'm looking at the documentary as like, I'm trying to be informed from both their individual lives, but that's not what the documentary is about. It's about like how they met in the middle, because that's not discussed a lot. You know what I mean? They're looked as two separate figures at a pivotal point in time. You know what I mean? Who had big impacts in like the civil rights, the whole racial injustice, and all that kind of stuff during America. But yeah, I think it's the perception thing at that time. But you know, one point of the documentary that like really got me, is, you know, when Malcolm X's daughter is speaking about, not Malcolm X's daughter, Muhammad Ali's brother, later on and towards the end of the documentary, not the spoiler for people that are listening right now, but when he goes about Muhammad Ali's relationship with Malcolm X, and he goes, I deeply regret it. If I could say sorry, I would.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just thinking about that, I'm like, damn.
One of his regrets.
His biggest regrets.
How about you, Ali? Because haven't read you've watched the movies on them?
Muhammad Ali, I think I've seen like those mini documentaries on YouTube and stuff. But Malcolm X, I just knew of the guy. I didn't know anything actually. I just knew like he's a big public figure, but that's it. I thought, okay, this documentary is going to teach me a lot. But then it did only focus on his relationship with Muhammad.
And Nation of Islam, because those years.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something like now I'm super keen in like looking into him more. You have the book, I'm going to borrow it 100%. And just what's fascinating about Malcolm is like, for example, his prison time, like when he was reading until like 3 a.m., he was reading in his cell, and how much like knowledge changed his life and the impact he made on other people. Like that just shows that like knowledge is power, like what he can do. Like, yes, there was some like rights him and Muhammad didn't have. Like, for example, they said Muhammad, when he won the gold medal in the Olympics, he went to the bar or some other place? Cafe. He went to go buy something, wearing his gold medal on his chest. And then the guy's like, oh, no, we don't serve your kind.
Yeah.
And he just won a gold medal for his country, yet he still looked down.
He's respecting them, yet they said, get out. Is this the segregation bit, yeah? When they said, like, this is like
came back from the Olympics.
Yeah, so it's just a white bar. Nah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like yesterday, because you don't really watch Malcolm and Muhammad like as frequently. It was giving me goosebumps when they were talking.
Yeah. Who was speaking?
When Malcolm.
Okay.
Whenever Malcolm talks, because maybe I know more about him, and actually I resonate with him a lot because, like Ali was saying, he's not one of those, like sometimes people when they're growing up, everyone sees them as intelligent or they see them as wise, but he kind of taught himself all of that. Like his brother, Muhammad Ali's brother, was saying Malcolm's a genius. And you don't use that word lightly.
No, you don't.
I don't call anyone a genius. Like, I'm not using that. Because Malcolm was a genius. And the guy was in his 30s. He died at 39. So this is him in his 30s and people calling him a genius. But he died 55 years ago. And we're still talking about him today. Yeah. And there's a reason he became so, like, poetic in the way he talks. Or so articulate and so intelligent. And it's something like, there's a gift to it. but it's also something you can kind of attain if you follow the same thing you did. Like he always says, read as much as you can, learn to communicate, become a better, like do what learn to speak to the people, for the people, you know. And it's like, because you can kind of attain it, maybe not to that status, but even something similar, I always like resonate, because like I want to improve in that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Isn't it trippy how, like, just people like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, how their legacies or themselves or their persona live way beyond their actual time? Like, when you know the whole thing, like during the documentary, obviously everyone knows about like Malcolm X's assassination. That's a like famous part of his story. But I'm thinking about it, like when they put it in context with everything that's going on at the moment, you know, how, like, I didn't know prior to this that Muhammad Ali sided with like Elijah Muhammad against Malcolm X. Like, I didn't know about that, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, going back to the whole genius thing, like how genius, like how wise, not even wise, bro, like how strong in your beliefs do you have to be? Yeah, and this is not on nothing religious or anything, like believing in what's true to you. Yeah, do you have to be, when you see one of the most famous guys like Muhammad Ali joining against the same person you realize there's faults in, like in Elijah Muhammad, you know, realizing, hey, this is not the type of ideology that I'm trying to be on. And he goes and steps away and goes, nah, but I still really believe in this. And then the bit in the episode or in the documentary when, you know, when I forgot where it was, but Muhammad Ali and it's called Malcolm X passed each other at one point.
Yeah, in Ghana.
In Ghana, that's where it was. When they passed each other and then he popped back in the car. Basically, Muhammad Ali didn't acknowledge him much.
And that's where he was just crushed. Like his soul was crushed. He's like, I'm actually alone. Like it's me against the world. Like he's been pushed aside. No one's with him. And this guy went traveling across the world just to figure out like true Islam by himself. Like meeting other people around the world. It's just fascinating.
But he was on the haqq. Like he was actually on the right path.
Yeah.
And that's why Muhammad Ali regretted it later on. He's like, obviously he was young and stuff like that, and maybe naive, but then he's like, damn, you know, that's one of my regrets. It's like, subhanallah, man.
But like a test of character as well. Like, how true do you have to be for you to be like, hey, that guy over there, Muhammad Ali, who's probably one of the most well-known figures of all time. You know what I mean? He's up there all time. You know what I mean? To be like, hey, regardless of what Muhammad Ali, bro, just even in like friendship groups and stuff, if the popular kid says something to you, because you're running with him, do you get what I mean? Regardless of what your morals and stuff
you're
are.
Convinced.
You know, or like nowadays on Instagram and stuff, you know, if a person's got way more followers than you, you know, you're just like, it's the whole popularity thing. Yeah, he's like, nah, even if it is Muhammad Ali, this is true and I believe to it, regardless, it is what it is type of thing. And then the whole thing where later on he comes back to his home and he gets bombed. Yeah, and he just dusts himself off and he goes, you could smell the smoke from, what do you call it, from his house, the firehouse. And that's where he gets like sort of shocked. So it's like there's reasons as to, it doesn't surprise me. People like that are remembered on later on. You know what I mean? Because when there was no one around, they were still true to who they actually were. So it speaks numbers, bro. It really does.
But I think there was too much of like, because maybe the time of their connection and life, like when he passed away, Malcolm X, there was so much Nation of Islam stuff. And I didn't realize how big, like, I didn't realize Nation of Islam was still around today. Because obviously I'm not in America, and you know, but I was like, damn, people are still like, you know, following it, preaching it. And I'm like, obviously Muhammad Ali left, but it wasn't like crystal clear that he left Elijah Muhammad. Like after Elijah Muhammad passed away, he's like, no, Nation of Islam is wrong. I'm going to go to Sunni Islam. I'm going to accept the haqq and I'm going to follow this path. It wasn't like crystal clear in the docker. And for a lot of other people, maybe who aren't Muslim, it's like, is Elijah Muhammad actually on the truth?
Yeah, that's another thing. The perception of Islam has become a bit, you know.
Because every single person I was talking was from Nation of Islam. It was like 4 or 5 guys, all of them were Nation of Islam. And I'm like, come on, man. But Malcolm and Muhammad Ali both passed away, you know, on a completely different path than Nation of Islam. Why didn't you get their perspective? Like I saw, or Ali said there was a photo of Muhammad Ali when he passed away. Hamza Yusuf was holding the body, the coffin. Yeah. He was holding it.
Yeah, I remember that day, June 6th.
Yeah, but I didn't. I've never seen the photo. Yeah. But then when I heard that, I'm like, damn, you know, like maybe Hamza Yusuf wouldn't want to come on the docker. But why not try to get like scholars like Omar Suleiman's a big preacher for Malcolm X.
He was speaking there that day. I'm pretty sure Omar Suleiman spoke at
Muhammad Ali's
Muhammad Ali's funeral. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
But
can we fact check that, by the way?
But Omar Suleiman is a big preacher for Malcolm X because he goes, the African Americans claim Malcolm X. Nation of Islam claim Malcolm X, like they were saying, genius stuff. Yeah. But he goes, Malcolm X doesn't even want to claim either. He wants to claim Sunni Islam's us. Why don't we claim him? Why do we keep calling him Malcolm? Malcolm X, that's not his name. That's not a name he lived by.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't as public and stuff, but it's like he changed his name, he changed his belief system, and we're not even claiming him. It's like, why aren't these guys like us or whoever, like Omar Suleiman, being on these doco and saying Malcolm, after Hajj was doing this, was doing that. Same with Muhammad Ali.
Depends who was running the documentary as well, so you can't
But I also understand the Nation of Islam's
involvement.
I said it like a white person. Nation of Islam's like their whole idea why they sort of stuck to it. You know what I mean? Because and I'm saying this from pure ignorance because I haven't delved into it as much. But like my understanding is like in a country which stripped away their basic rights, you know what I mean? They found something to give them some sort of like purpose. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain part in the documentary which spoke loud. Like it was loud. The whole bit where what's the guy's name? He's the chief Malik Shabazz or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy is. The guy that's continually speaking on the documentary. And he gave these black people what do you call it, uniform. It made them not drink pork, not eat pork, drink alcohol.
It brought discipline to their life and like a certain like order.
Do you know what I mean? So then they never found that out anyway. And the whole thing with, he says it, one of the, I got to know his name. Was his name Rahman?
He's the leader that was wearing the FOI and the full like army.
What was his name again?
I'm not too sure.
It's got a long name.
Yeah, he had a long name. Supreme leader of the world
Let's
and
call
the
him
universe.
Let's call him the supreme leader. Yeah. That guy there basically essentially told them this brought us discipline. And in regards to like Elijah Muhammad, he goes, half of these guys were fatherless and they looked up to him as a father figure. So the whole like religion and the whole like just life, the line was a bit blurred.
It gave them something to stand for, like you said.
I was just going to say, they just gave, like, it was an opportunity for them where it's like an ideal scenario where it's like, the white people aren't, like, they're obviously treating us bad. They are the devils. Like, like they were convinced in that way where it's like, we should be treated like equally or if not superior. So they did get convinced by Elijah Muhammad that it was an ideal lifestyle for them.
Yeah, I just would have loved to see like someone else's perspective on it.
Of
course. Because that time where it's like 63 to 65 for Malcolm before he passed away, those last couple of years, or Muhammad Ali's last couple of years, he wasn't on the path of Nation of Islam. So if they kind of like made that more clear, I just would have liked them more because I want to hear that kind of stuff. It's actually very fascinating to hear what Muhammad Ali used to do because he used to be often communicating with Hamza Yusuf and the sheikhs in the States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because they said he used to, like, he was on that kind of path. We would talk to them, ask for advice, a lot of those kind of scholars in the US. And Malcolm was the same way. He was going around the world trying to find, like, all the Muslim leaders. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to hear, like, more about that from their perspective.
Believe it or not, you know what's actually... Sorry to finish, Landon. You know what's actually funny? They actually said it themselves in the documentary. They go... and I don't know who it was. One of the white guys on there was explaining how Muhammad Ali's life post-Nation Islam was a bit blurred. Yeah, and not blurred, it was sort of advertised in a way that it actually really wasn't. He was known as just a figure. There was nothing more to Muhammad Ali, But if you're going to say that, then at least depict his life afterwards. You have the ability to go find his house in Louisville. I mean, you can at least go find, I don't know, something like more to his life after thing. Because later on, not many people know post... All you remember of Muhammad Ali is what? His Parkinson's disease? What else? Like he went and lit up the torch at one of the Olympics. Little stuff like that. Like you're right. They could have probably delved into that.
I know how documentaries work as well. They just want what's juicy, and sometimes they go and they record with someone for an hour. So even maybe Muhammad Ali's brother could have said something like when he left Elijah, this happened, but they cut it. Yeah. Like even his kids, Malcolm's kids could have been like, when they left Nation, this is what happened. Or Muhammad Ali's kids could have been like, she might have said Muhammad Ali realized he was on the truth when he left Nation of Islam, but they just cut it.
Yeah, for them it's like unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's not as juicy as like attracting more listeners. Because I feel like for neutral listeners as well, maybe trying to find out more about the two brothers, it was a bit like they're probably missing out on a lot. And especially for me as well, like Muhammad Ali, for example, like he said leaving Nation of Islam. I was kind of looking back to the documentary trying to find like more detail from yesterday because I thought maybe I missed something, but they just didn't mention it as much detail.
Because the only thing is Muslims like us would question and say, did he ever come to the haqq? Or Malcolm, was he only on the haqq for like 6 months or something? Was he ever on it, So that's the only thing where it's like people who don't know a lot about them will just question it more. And these guys, Nation of Islam, are putting the idea in their heads,
100%. Why do you look up to either Muhammad Ali? Did you look up to either one of those two?
I look up to Malcolm more.
Okay, why?
Only because like, so I was learning about Muhammad Ali as well. Like Muhammad Ali had the charisma. Obviously, he was lovable. He had the confidence and stuff like that. But I remember I was reading about he got in a fight with his wife.
Who did?
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
You know, his wife, and he got in a fight and he goes, I'm the greatest, this, that, you know, whatever. And she goes, you need to humble yourself, boy. You know, like you can't keep saying you're the greatest. Only God's the greatest, you know? And then and they were fighting because he got cocky. And as soon as you say you're the greatest world heavyweight champion, like who's going to put you in your place?
Yeah.
But then his wife goes, no, go write down on a piece of paper why you joined Nation of Islam and why, like, you know, this is like Nation of Islam time. And he went and wrote it down. He goes, why? Because I just want to have guidance, you know. I'm just a normal person, this, that. And then he kind of had that, like, humility after writing that. And then he thanked his wife. And then now it's, like, in one of the museums. But it was more about...
Oh, that's, like, being kept.
Yeah, so a whole paper that he had to write, like, as a reflection, like a journal.
Yeah.
And then Muhammad Ali, at the end of his life, was saying, like, I realized that, you know, my gold medals and my world heavyweight champions is nothing really in God's eyes. All that's important is my character and what I left for people. And like this guy used to say, I'm the greatest. And that's what everyone remembers, that he was like, I'll use the word cocky or confident, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what he was. That's boxing. You have to believe you are the greatest. If not, you're not going to be successful.
That's what he's known for.
But then it's like, but that's not how he ended it, you know? But because a lot of his career is very well known for like fighting and stuff like that, that doesn't link with me. But to be like an effective communicator and to spread wisdom and stuff like Malcolm, that's something like I'd want to do. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm not going in a ring and becoming a sports star.
For sure.
And I can't, like, me resonating with it, there's characteristics like, okay, maybe the confidence, maybe the belief in myself, I can do that. But Malcolm, it's like, I can be Malcolm, or I can be a quarter of who Malcolm was.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali, I can't be. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you can't look up to him because you don't resonate with him to a certain degree.
yeah.
Yeah, but there are qualities of his that you definitely do resonate with, that you could look up to.
Yeah. But Malcolm, like, because me growing up in school, I was good, I was smart, you know, but I wasn't a genius. But then Malcolm taught me, like, you can become more intelligent.
For sure.
Do you get it? Like, he's known as a genius. If you met him at 20, you wouldn't say this guy's going to be one of the smartest people.
There's a difference between academic and genius.
Like, saying book smart and...
Yeah, like, basically, like, I don't know about Malcolm to that degree, but he wasn't an academic per se. You know what I mean? But he was genius in terms of how smart and, like, critical. He was a high critical thinker.
No, he was academic.
I think he was both.
He was academic?
Hamza Yusuf says the books that Malcolm read when he was in prison, I have no idea how he read it. Those books are high intellectual, philosophical books and stuff like that.
Did he have an education?
No, he taught himself how to read.
He went.
prison.
See, that's what just yeah.
I was gonna say, I think something when he went to high school or something, or school, I can't remember. I don't want to say specifically. He was known as one of the smartest kids at his school, and he was like aspiring to become a lawyer. But then the teacher said something on the lines of like, "Oh, you shouldn't bother because they don't accept people like you." And then I think that just
as in he's black.
Yeah. So then after that, he just went back onto the street, and then.
Yeah,
history. The rest was history.
He probably had a certain level, but to get to his level, you have to put in the work. Exactly. And that's what I really loved about Malcolm, because his life is something you can kind of like look up towards and trying to like emulate. You can't. I'm not going to become world heavyweight boxer. Yeah, you know. But there's other areas of Muhammad that I can.
Yeah. True. I'm with you on that. What about you, Ali?
What about you?
I answered it at the start when I was talking about how I look up to Malcolm much more. Well, I do look up to Malcolm. See, this is the thing, yeah? There's, like I said before, there's certain quotes about Malcolm that I've come across, that I look up to. Bro, legendary, ex-legendary. Where do you think the X came from?
Serious?
Yeah, Handy, bro. When
mad.
I used to make my name on Facebook.
That must have been from after you watched the documentary or something.
But before when I was a fake fan. But Muhammad Ali, just his like charisma and his like personality, I low-key think like I have that sort of, like, I try to, like, emulate that confidence that he has, you know, that cockiness in sport, in and out, that type of thing. But other than that, not much, to be honest.
I reckon for me, like, I don't know too much about Malcolm X, but what I seen from him was, like, his self-belief in his values as well. Like, just no matter what happened in his life, people pushing him away, Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, even one of his good friends, Muhammad Ali, he was pushed aside by himself, traveling the world by himself as well, trying to find the truth. It made me want to believe more in my values and not being even the ability of getting convinced in other ways, pushed around. It's hard to explain, but I think to myself, because you're in this world, you're by yourself. Obviously, you follow Islam. You have to be strong in your values. You don't want to try to get pushed convinced from other people, from social media or influencers and all that, whatever's trending and all that. You need to just stick by your values and what you believe.
So you link more with Malcolm?
Yeah, I'll say Malcolm. Yeah,
We're all Malcolm.
yeah. It's just very interesting.
Yeah.
In the middle type of thing.
Yeah. Even me, because Muhammad Ali, there's so much more to also his life. If you want to talk about stand for something, there's no one that stood for something more than Muhammad Ali, the world heavyweight champion of the world, the highest regard you can have. He got stripped his title because he didn't want to go fight in the Vietnam War. Malcolm, he stood for Islam and he went around and studied, but there was what did he lose in that process? For example, he lost his friends and maybe his local name, but Muhammad Ali was the most popular man in the world. He lost so much more. Do you get it? And he stood even further. He's they said, you go to prison. He's I'll take it.
Because he believed in what he believed in so much.
Yeah.
So he would even go to prison
that's
for it.
if you want to talk about self-belief and standing for something, that's all he's regarded as one of the greatest athletes of the 20th century.
For sure.
I even remember in the autobiography that spoke about Malcolm, he had because he obviously got his house destroyed or vandalized, he had a feeling that he was gonna die.
Malcolm?
Yeah, so it's not in the documentary, but he talks about it he told his family, I think, that they might try to assassinate me, and that got, see how the FBI was on the ball with all their phone calls? That got tapped, so the FBI even wrote it.
I know about that, yeah.
And then that was one of the only times he brought his daughters to hear him talk. He never really brought his wife or his daughters and stuff. He kind of just went alone, and that was one of the only times because he kind of wanted to spend time with them, and then khalas.
Because he had a feeling, his minutes were up.
That was in the other documentary, the one
Who killed Malcolm X?
Who killed Malcolm X?
Yeah.
I remember hearing something about that.
Did you watch it with me?
The first half. I remember.
Yeah, I watched
I don't think we're even allowed to speak about it.
That was funny.
That was bad.
That was funny one.
But yeah, I ended up finishing the rest on my own or something like that. So
I never finished it.
The FBI aspect, how the FBI was basically onto them.
Sorry.
And that was a funny concept they spoke about in the actual documentary. And it made me remember about the other documentary. The whole thing about how, while the whole nation Islam, there was a massive divide between them. The FBI they were always alert. They were always on top of what was going on. But they weren't actually doing anything themselves. They just basically let a fight in between the two people in the nation Islam, between Malcolm and Muhammad Ali, rather than intervening and causing a directly fight. So it looked like it was an in-home fight type of thing, in-house thing, which is that was
So FBI just watched. Because honestly, they
not watched, but then obviously 100% they were plotting and planning as well. You know what I mean? You can't trust the FBI like that. But it was more so they didn't directly try charging them or doing something or that type of thing, going out of their way. It
was because Martin Luther King's speech was 1963, around that time and stuff. And then it was just so much of the Black Lives Matter, rights activism and stuff throughout those years. Malcolm was just becoming too powerful, they were saying. I remember the FBI was scared of what Malcolm could become because Malcolm was going overseas and getting leaders around the world. He went to the UN. It's
networking.
Yeah, if he created he got global support, who can stop him?
That's true. That is really, really true.
It's damn.
Yeah.
It's making me jaded to go watch some YouTube videos. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. Interesting, man.
On him, yeah.
And him and Muhammad Ali.
I'm like Ali. I might read the autobiography for
I'm keen.
Yeah?
the Malcolm one for sure.
Yeah.
It's not even my copy.
And you can't understand why till this day African Americans are reverting to Islam. Like Stephen Jackson, he loves Malcolm X, man. He posts him almost every week. There's a quote or something.
And this was 55 years ago.
And I seen it, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. But now it's I understand the impact he makes on his life and how connected you feel to him, especially when you revert to Islam.
Yeah. Was it Kaepernick that took the knee?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kaepernick has a camp where he trains kids and everything, stuff like that. Every single kid that comes to the camp, he gives the autobiography of Malcolm X to.
Wow.
Nah.
Yeah, he goes, it's a rule. You have to read it if you want to come to the training camp.
Oh, oh my God.
He probably's got an endorsement deal. Who knows?
Of what? But it's like, Stephen Jackson even. But
Yeah.
there was a lot of Nation of Islam. Did you see like the FOI on there?
Yeah, what's FOI?
I googled it. It's Fruit of Islam.
As in, they are the fruit of Islam.
That's what they use, and there was like a term just for like the fruit, like the blessings of Islam and the protectors of the religion. and
They're
stuff
considered
like
that label's considered like the security of Nation of Islam.
that. That's why they're wearing that. A lot of them are
So
wearing
not
that.
everyone wears FOI.
No, more
I
like the
don't
people
think
that
so,
were
yeah.
protecting.
Protecting like Elijah and stuff.
Yeah, like you see, like all of them are in kind of like army kind of clothes. Even my dad was telling me a story. He was in New York, him and my mum, and he's just walking around, and they say "Assalamu alaikum," of course, stuff because they're Muslim, you know. And then, yeah, they're Muslim. Okay.
Yeah.
And then like "Assalamu alaikum" to my dad because mum's wearing a scarf, this that, and he was like "Salam." They're talking to him, and then the guy's like, you know, where you from, this that. And my dad's like, Australia. He's like, what about you? He's like, I'm from here, you know, I'm from Harlem. I'm a 5%er.
What's a 5%er?
My dad's like, what the hell's a 5? My dad's traveled the world and my mum. But imagine a Muslim comes to you, he's like, yeah, I'm a 5%er.
Like he's trying to say he's 5% Muslim.
No, but that's the thing. I was like, what the hell's a 5%er? And my dad's like, he explained it to me, but just went out the other ear, like, you know.
So did you end up finding what a 5%
I
is?
googled it. Let me tell you what it is.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, I just googled it. So I
Who
googled.
says I'm a 5%?
What is a 5%? That's the funny
That's not
thing.
convincing, bro.
So they said members of the group call themselves Allah's 5%ers, which reflects the concept that 10% of the people in the world know the truth of existence, and those elites and their agents opt to keep 85% of the world in ignorance, and under their controlling thumb, the remaining 5% try to guide the rest of the world.
We're on some good crack, bro.
Yeah, strong, man.
I was like, subhanallah,
That's
man.
crazy.
But it's such a, like, it's still a thing. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were in New York and boom, someone's like, yeah, I'm a 5%er. In the documentary, there was a mosque that said Nation of Islam above it.
Mm-hmm.
And like to us, it's like, because we hear Malcolm and we hear Muhammad leave it and we're like, Elijah Muhammad, you know, like obviously he's not a prophet and stuff like that. We're like, you know,
Well, they believe that, though.
yeah. But to us, it's like, there's so much like, because we see the bigger picture,
Mm.
you know, like that's what happens when Malcolm and Muhammad went on Hajj.
Yeah.
They're like, how am I supporting this guy? Like, I was telling my parents, like, Muhammad Ali goes, the white man's the devil. He's on Hajj. A white man, he bumps the white man. The white man goes, oh, sorry, forgive me.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali will be like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because he's in a place where he's not
Because
used to
if he
that.
sees like Arabs, like Lebanese or other Africans or even Europeans, like, hopefully if you're on Hajj, you don't care about race. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
in the 60s or 70s, but it's like a peaceful thing. So you go there and you're like, we all look the same, we all, you know, and then you kind of find the haqq. But a lot
Yeah.
of these guys who don't have the opportunity to go on Hajj
Or trouble.
or travel and meet Muslims in Africa or meet Muslims in Europe, like how
Yeah.
many Arabs, you know, only I think because we have some cousins that live in the States. A lot of them came from like Palestine, they came from Syria and stuff like that. They came in the 70s and the 80s. So in the 50s, 60s, there wasn't like Arabs walking the streets that are saying, I'm Muslim. And my dad even said in the 90s here, it was very difficult to get like an English Quran.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
Wasn't translated.
Yeah, so because of that in the 50s and 60s, imagine trying to get a Quran. So Elijah Muhammad and these groups can kind of like, maybe I'll use the word like manipulate, change the Quran to be like in their favor. They only have to quote certain ayahs. No one's going to, how many ayahs in the Quran? It's like 600 pages. No one's going to be like, you know, tell me every page.
Yeah.
You only have to hear certain bits.
And that
That's
could be
happening.
enough to like convince those people.
And they've
Yeah.
manipulated the ones.
And like you said, they needed something to stand for. They needed structure in their life. And that's what Nation of Islam gave them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they didn't have it other than that. Same as Muhammad Ali. That's why when he changed his name, I didn't know how confident he was when he changed his name.
Yeah. No, he was hella confident, bro.
I didn't know that.
That was one of the things that you remember about him. Like, you seen that famous clip where the guy, I forgot who his opponent was at the time, but he was trying to taunt him. And then after he goes to him, hey, Cassius. He goes, you will say my name. And he goes, hey, Cassius. He goes, you will say my name. And he kept on calling him Cassius. And he goes, after I knock your ass out, you'll definitely pronounce my name as Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Have you seen that clip?
No, I haven't.
That's like...
I just heard it yesterday in the doctor. Like
Oh, then he was saying like, what's my name?
yeah.
In the fight,
Yeah.
yeah?
In the fight, he goes, what's my name? What's my name?
Damn.
And he's known for that because he believed in it that much.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's conviction, man. And to go to that extent, it's like, subhanallah. You know,
Allah
that's what,
is-
because they didn't have that. It's like, he even said, he goes, I'm sixth generation of Cassius Clay. And that was like my slave owner's name. And then when they changed their name and Elijah gives them another name, it's like, this is your natural path. And a lot of them realized, like, a lot of Stephen Jackson and Muslims that are coming now, they're like, when they find out now in 2010, 2020, their ancestry, when they came from Africa, they're like, we came from West Africa, we came from Central Africa, we were Muslims, we came here, and it was the like white man's religion, Christianity, that they taught us. That's why Muhammad Ali, he goes to the church with his agent. He goes to the church with his agent. They sing the exact same songs.
Yeah, he's
And
confused.
the what's his name?
Who?
The leader of the church.
The supreme leader. Oh, you talking about the priest?
Yeah, the priest comes up to him and goes,
Yeah.
you have to get out of the church.
It's not
He's
for it's not for people like you.
He's not for people like you. He's like, what type of religion's this? You know, we sing the same songs. Why can't I be here?
Exactly.
And that's why when they realized, like, you know, the white man, the slave owners took our religion. This is our natural religion. That's why, like, Kyrie, Jalen Brown, and whatever Stephen Jackson's are all interested in it.
They found like a reason to side with Islam.
Yeah.
It's crazy, wallah. It really is.
Which is hectic, which is good for us, you know? Because even, like, for example, today's September 11. It's been 20-year anniversary.
9/11.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
So, like, even now, like, a lot of things that happen in America, like, obviously maybe like the word terrorists and stuff like that, and the wars that happen, like, there's a lot more hate sometimes on the Muslims, but there's actually a lot of Muslims that converted because of 9/11. So many people actually came and became interested in Islam because they're like, Muhammad Ali's not a bad guy, you know?
Sure.
Or there's so many, like, my neighbor's not a bad guy. Why are they saying all Muslims are terrorists?
Yeah, yeah.
They study the deen and they become Muslim. There's
Yeah.
so many stories, and I'm like, subhanallah, you know, even when you think you control the narrative, control the picture with the media, the fastest growing religion in the world, you know?
Can't be stopped to
Yeah.
that degree. Yeah, 100%.
That's why it's fascinating to think, like, if Malcolm X was like still alive, like, was he only assassinated because those comments he made?
You watch the doco, I don't know.
No, no one actually knows who's assassinated to this
Yeah.
day.
No, I'm not saying who assassinated him, like why he got assassinated. Was it only because those comments he made about Elijah Muhammad? If he didn't say it, would he
That's
still
the
be
thing.
alive?
It could be because of a million things. It could be
Okay.
because, like, some people say the FBI assassinated him. Some people say Elijah Muhammad's
So it could've
soldiers like
just,
assassinated
could've
him.
just been an inevitable thing.
Some guy must have been like, some guy could have been like, I love Elijah Muhammad. You can't disrespect him and kill him. It wasn't Elijah Muhammad's intention or anyone's, so we don't know.
Yeah, to that to that degree. It's like the whole thing with MLK.
But there's a lot of things, like a lot of assassinations in the 60s, 70s, like there's really no
It was a
idea.
normal
Like
thing.
even Kennedy's, you know, like you don't really know.
Yeah.
It's
You'll never know.
Cubans did
I
it.
didn't. I didn't know even like Malcolm when he said the chickens come home to roost.
Is
I'm
it that?
Malcolm,
Yeah.
like JFK.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, true.
because
true.
JFK is like known as like an amazing president, whatever, a man on the moon. He was that, you know.
Yeah, during that time, yeah.
And then I was like, chickens come home to roost. I'm like, what a funny guy, man.
Yeah, he had humor too as well.
Yeah.
That was the funny thing.
Yeah, even you know the story about Muhammad Ali when they said, you know, your kind is like we don't serve your kind. That's the thing he said. He goes, awesome, because I don't eat them. Do you get that?
Oh, yeah.
'Cause we didn't serve it.
Yeah.
And then when someone
Did you
said
get
that,
No, I don't get it.
because
As in, like, you know how you serve food?
Yeah.
That's why.
yeah,
Because you can't serve people.
and then it's like, yalla, get out. Yeah,
That's crazy. That's crazy.
subhanallah.